Hi everybody, this is Doug Harris, and we're back with more progress on the tank game. So last time we were toying around with talking about the level design and everything else, and I spent a little bit more time thinking about it and toying with it and working with it. And I went through and cleaned up some bugs and did a ton of other stuff and just kind of got bored and decided I was going to paint some of the level and test out some new graphics. So the dirt graphics been changed, but of course none of these graphics are the final graphics whatsoever, so almost everything's going to change and be reworked and remodified, and so on and so on and so on until we get done. But it does show that there's a little bit more potential with the tile systems. This actually is starting to look a little nice, and of course the plan would be to actually start building something called smart tiles, which will actually start connecting to each other. So we'd have a grass and it would have an overhang over top of the dirt tile, and it would look a little bit nicer than what we got here, but it gets the concept across. I did end up actually working on the AI like I said I would actually do. I improved the pathfinding. I found out a few different issues. So for those who actually are using the A-Star project, whatever it's called, for Unity, it's a thing, really recommended pathfinding system for Unity. There are a few problems with it. I did notice that if you weren't really paying attention and weren't reading the documents, you would actually have problems. Now, one of the things I had problems with is I had an aim at script that was designed to actually aim at the player while the entity moved. I thought, yeah, this would be fine. We would have this script, it would aim at it, and of course it was more a legacy system that was in there, but I didn't really think about it. I thought, you know what, we'll have a Pathfinder, and the Pathfinder will just move the entity left, right, backwards, and forward. Turns out the Pathfinder actually tries to move it as a physics object, and will move it only forward or backwards depending on what it's doing, and will rotate towards the object. So when you have an aim at target script, and you have another script trying to rotate at the same time, one doing physics, one not doing physics, of course the one not doing physics is going to win, and we ended up having an aim at target script actually caused problems and ended up breaking the AI. That's the reason why you saw the AI smack into the walls a lot in the last few videos I showed, is they were trying to move towards me as the player, and it couldn't because the aim at script was forcing him into the wall, so they would move forward and then smack it on the wall and do that over and over again, which is not too bad of a thing. If I really wanted to, I could leave it in there, as it was kind of something that could be reasonably understandable, especially if we were doing certain types of AIs that were not very smart. Of course, you want these AIs to be somewhat intelligent. That's going to be what's going to make the game enjoyable, is the AIs are going to try to outperform you, and there's going to be tons of work on the AIs after all, as that's going to be probably one of the core features of the gameplay. At least I hope it will be. I don't know. We'll get to that eventually. Some of the other improvements I've done is I've actually started implementing triggers. Now, triggers are things that you do an action and you end up with a reaction. So we have an area trigger here, and we have a break door trigger here, and we have another break door trigger here. These are two separate doors. I could have scaled these to fit across the gap, but I decided I wanted to test what would happen if we had more than one door that you could break, and this is an example of it. So we have a script here that will detect if either one of these doors will break, and will then trigger these guys to spawn, and we have another one over here which will then trigger these guys to spawn. At the moment it will do a double spawn, but it works. And of course these doors break will also trigger these guys to spawn over here, and I've got some decorative tanks in here as I'm planning on actually stylizing this little test level as a factory that was building tanks, and I'm going to see about making NPCs walk around. And I've got a really cool idea that I want to do of making a roof appear and disappear as you enter the level. So what you would do is you see a roof on the building over here, and then as you went around this and came into the side, as soon as you get in here, or where you can see into here, it would disappear or turn transparent. I think when we get to the seeing part, I'm going to make it transparent, and when you get inside of it, I'm going to make it disappear, and I'm going to make the outside disappear, so that way you can see inside the building, but then you can't see outside the building, and so on. That way it gives you a little bit of intrigue. I want to do the same thing with this, and I'll probably do the same thing with a few of these other levels where you can see into the windows and everything else as you go by. It'll be a really good proof of concept, and how I plan to do that is with triggers, which will be real easy to do. Anyways, let's go ahead and run through the levels and kind of show off what we got. I got rid of the poles also on the roads. I found out that those weren't really doing well. I also increased the size of the pathing grid, so the previous pathing grid was 0.5. I found that for 1 works just fine, and also reduces lag. There's a bit of lag problems, although the grid is cached. The lag problem really just came down from it. When you get a lot of enemies pathing, it does cause some problems. So we can drive up and down here. Let's actually go really quickly to the mob farm here. I'm actually going to plan to put a track here to test the mobs. So we've got a little pin here with the mobs in them, meant to be like a zoo type of thing. Of course, they're not going to actually path at me. They will try to... Wow, that guy actually... He should be pathing towards me, but he's not. Something might be broken with him. But you can see the little guy here will path. He's got a rotation script. I'm probably going to increase the rotation of these, but these are actually meant to be like a spider-like crab creature, is what they're going to end up looking like, not this little missile-looking thing. The only reason we got a tail on him is I do plan to animate the tail, and I plan to mess around with that. But yeah, little zoo thing. Different mobs. I'm probably going to add some data to the level to kind of explain what each mob is, and I'm probably going to leave... I don't know if I'll leave this level in the game, but it will be in the demo. So we get in here, Not much going on here, nothing shooting at me. We got a little area here. The tanks are in existence. You can push these guys around. These are meant to be doors right here. So there's going to be a little office area in here that I might build just to play around with. I want to test the NPC's logic. And we got another area up here. These are going to probably be wooden floors eventually. Because what these are meant to be is like storage areas. Actual wood, it wouldn't be a good idea, but I'll make some textures. Anyways, we blow these doors up. As soon as I blow this door up, I should get AI spawning. There we go. I need to work on an object pull system, that way these guys spawn a lot faster, because you saw there was a delay. Although I think the delay might be the timer script more than the amount of time Unity takes to create these objects. I actually think that might exactly be it. But these guys spawn, you can shoot at them, and kill them, and do things. And they move pretty well. You can see they actually do rotate and stuff. These guys are getting a little confused. Let's check to see what they're doing. I think they're colliding with each other. There's an upgraded version of the A-Star program that I'm using to come with Unity that will make them where they don't collide with each other. It's called Object Avoidance. And at the moment, you can tell it is a problem. Because when they collide with each other, they actually do... They have problems. So you see where it tries to rotate and it rotates into it? It's something I'm going to have to work on. The pro version of this isn't too expensive, so I may end up buying it just so I get the avoidance system. Or I might code my own, because it's not too hard. The thing I'm starting to notice with this using this A-Star program is that it's not doing anything that I can't actually do on my own. So I may end up ditching it at some point and using my own system. Because it would be fun. I mean, making an object avoidance system would be really enjoyable. Anyways, let's go to the other side. I could blow through this door and come out this way, but I kind of want to go the other direction just to show this trigger off. So right here, you can't actually see anything, but as soon as we cross this spot, boom, mod spawns. And you can see I've actually edited this level up, made it more open, so that we don't get shot at easily. I'm going to be doing a lot more experimentation and testing. There's probably a few demos I'm going to probably release just to get feedback on the openness of levels and how people are going to flow with it through them. I'm going to have to figure out some way to do a survey, because the plan would be to release the demo and have the survey built into the demo. That way I'm not having to have people log into a forum or send me some kind of information through something else. It would just be a simple, anonymous, like, little form that'll be built into the program that'll go, hey, how did you like this level? How did you rate it? Like, what were the problems? There's probably some way to collect that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And of course you can blow this other door up, but it doesn't do anything anymore after you get blown up. Pretty straightforward. Now the code for these triggers is not too complicated, so let me go ahead and get the game killed here. And we'll go into the scripts here. So map, triggers. So I've got some prefabs here, so I built basically a prefab, just map trigger, where I can hold the actions and hold that it has triggered. And I have a method to run through all the triggers, so there's a little bit of prefab going there. And then here's the death trigger. Death trigger just watches some damage data and goes, you can ask if anything. It then loops through things. Now I could put a loop, or an exit right here at the bottom that does the do trigger part. But I had figured you're not going to have that many damage objects in here. You may have like maybe 5, 6, because you're not going to have too many in here, and the concept would be that this loop will run fast enough that it doesn't really matter. It's going to run in fixed update, which means it's going to run like maybe every other second. Well, maybe not. That's not how that actually works. I think this runs like 60 times a second, so it's not that big of a deal. If it turns into a performance problem, I'll probably recode it, but it does do the count, so it counts if it's higher or if the death count's greater than 0 and trigger any, and then it just triggers it. I may replace trigger any with just a death counter, because what we might want to do is, like, if 50% of the objects die, then spawn the next wave, which would be really easy to do by simply having a number of objects in here and then simply saying if 5 are dead, which then would replace the need for 2 checks here, because we have 2 checks at the moment, which would just be more of a reduced complexity rather than a performance thing. So that's the death trigger right there. Then the area trigger is just on collide, do trigger. And then we do the make sure the do trigger is false so we don't re-trigger it, but we make sure we use a variable here instead of destroying the object in case we want to rerun the trigger. And then here's our actions. Turn the spawners on, and then there's our prefab for it. Pretty straightforward if you guys want to make your own triggers. It is incredibly easy. There's nothing complicated to it. It's just you start making specialized triggers to do individual things and try to do reusable stuff. And that's pretty much it what I've got for you. So I'll be back with more content, videos, and updates.